What is going on, everybody? It is Alex, and you've probably seen this white Galaxy S5 I've been working with in a lot of my videos, and that is actually the Octo-core model, which is not available on LTE networks. And I just got in the one on the left, which is the one in the bigger box. That is actually the Quad-core model, or the one that's going to be available in North America on LTE networks. Because I have both the Octo-core and Quad-core models at the same time, I decided right away once I opened up the Quad-core, I wanted to do a comparison between the two. So here's a comparison sheet between the Quad-core and Octo-core model. I have the Quad-core model in black and the Octo-core model in white, but obviously both models of the S5 come in 4 different colors. The Quad-core model is running a Crate 400 processor at 2.5 GHz and has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 chipset. The Octo-core model doesn't have a traditional octo-core processor. It actually has 2 quad-core processors that mix together. So the first is an ARM Cortex-A15, which is clocked at 1.9 GHz, and the second is a Cortex-A7 clocked at 1.3 GHz. And that A7 will actually handle the easier tasks of the phone, and the whole phone together runs at a speed of 2.3 GHz. The chipset is also different in the Octo-core model. It uses an Exynos 5422 chipset rather than the Snapdragon 801 chipset found in the Quad-core model. Because of the increased clock speed on the Quad-core model, the GPU frequency also gets a bump up, so it's running at 578 MHz rather than the 550 MHz found on the Octo-core model, and both the Octo-core and Quad-core models of the Galaxy S5 have 2 gigs of RAM. First, I ran Geekbench, which is a processor test, and as you can see, the single-core scores are very close to each other, which is to be expected. However, there's an increased gap in the multi-core scores, which you can see that happening. There's obviously a reason for that. There's 4 cores on the black S5, and there's 8 cores on the white S5, so you're going to get a higher multi-core score on the white Galaxy S5, which is the octo-core model. The next test I ran was Antutu Benchmark, which kind of mixes processing and graphics power together. As you can see, the octo-core model did come on top still with a score of 39,100 versus the 36,577 on the quad-core model. However, the gap between the two phones did definitely shrink. When I ran 3D Mark, which is a strictly graphics test, I saw a difference in the scores. The quad-core model actually scored much higher than the octo-core model, and this is because of that increased GPU frequency that I talked about earlier. The quad-core model had a much easier time processing graphics, but both phones had pretty much the same exact frame rate. Both of the frame rates throughout the test were hovering right around 60 frames per second. Now, this has nothing to do with performance, but I thought I'd throw it out there anyway. The black S5 feels like it has a much more textured or grippy feel on the back of the phone. It almost feels like there's a rubber coating on the back, whereas the white S5 feels very smooth and doesn't have that textured feel. I'm not sure if this is because it's a quad-core model rather than an octo-core model. I'm not sure if it's because of the color difference, and I'm not sure if it's because it's from AT&T. I really don't know what's causing this, but it definitely feels way different. That's a quick comparison between the quad-core and octo-core models of the Samsung Galaxy S5. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button as well as subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future content. Thanks, and I'll catch you in my next video. See ya.